So I was like, just the sequence of events on how everything happened. I think back and I'm like, shit. I'm like, that's freaking nuts. I'm like, just one thing led to another.
Right.
One thing led to another. And um, once again, being a platoon sergeant, I saw what was going on whenever somebody got, struck by an IED. We were getting all the reports nightly. By the end of the day, we had our platoon sergeants meeting, platoon commanders meeting, with our CO, commanding officer, basically the head shed, and we're seeing everything that's happened in our area of operation. Different companies, that are there. Meaning that I saw what was going on when Marines were getting hit by IEDs. It was almost every time double amputee. It's like if it was a foot patrol, almost every single one of them was a double amputee. Maybe a few single amputees here and there. So seeing all these reports, when I got hit, I'm like, shit. I'm like, they're gone. I'm like, they're gone. So we kind of train. If somebody gets hit, don't let them look at the injuries,
Right?
Because they'll go into shock.
Right.
So my guys didn't want me to look at my freaking injuries. So when I got hit, explosion went off, and like you were talking about earlier, that how Matt Wheeler was telling you that if there's one IED, there's more than likely going to be another one there.
Mm-hmm.
So they do that for a purpose. Damn enemy does that for a purpose.
Yeah.
If one of us gets hit, they know that all of our other dudes are going to rush to our aid.
Yep.
So they're going to put another damn IED there. So my guys, they reacted just the way we trained them. We're like, how we mitigate that. There's a process. They didn't just rush towards me. They did everything exactly how we trained, how we expected them to do. They got to me finally, and I'm like, shit. So I'm just laying there. But when the explosion happened, it freaking flung me in the air. So I land, and I had a big old gash, from my Kevlar. I landed face first, big old gash. So I flipped myself over. I tried with my left hand. My left hand was in bad shape. So I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. So I flipped myself over with my right hand. So I'm just laying there. And my guys are, yelling, who's hit? So I yell back. I'm like, it's me, And so they get to me. All of my guys react, exactly how we trained and how we wanted to. They set up security. The ones that are we are our corpsmen, Army calls him medic. We call him corpsman.
Right.
My corpsman gets there, with a couple of my other Marines that are my combat lifesavers, is what we call them. They get there. They start working on me right away. They, throw on some tourniquets, and they will not let me, see my injuries. But I already knew.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're freaking gone, especially if they're doing all this to my lower extremities. And I'm like, it is what it is, just start praying to the big guy, start praying to the big guy. I'm like, hey, but it'd be nice if I could get home and see my kids, so my guys put me on a stretcher, and they start getting me back. By that time, we have one of our lieutenants that was with us. He was already on the radio, and spinning up helo, trying to get me out of there. So I start telling the squad leader, I'm like, hey, I know I'm in pretty bad shape. I'm like, I know that I'm not gonna be able to, make it all the way back to, the fob. I'm like, this is what you need to do. Like, you need to see that last landing zone that we plotted. I'm like, you need to land the bird right there. I'm like, get him to do a point of injury extract. I'm like, 'cause chances are I'm not gonna make it. If they don't do that. So they get on the bird. They tried landing a bird right there. It's a no-go. As soon as I got hit, the enemy that we had, that squad more than likely got contact with earlier, they were already heading towards us, and they were amassing on us. And on top of that, we had just stir the hornet's nest with that over there.
Right.
So now they had reinforcements coming, and we had intel, flying above us, and the report that we got was that once they heard the explosion, it was about 50 or 60 enemy fighters that were converging on us.
Holy crap.
It was a squad of, it was a patrol of we had 13 guys out there. 13 guys out there with that patrol that day. I'm hit now, so that brings it down to 12. And then you got the guys that are carrying me. So we're not going to do much against, we'll say 50 enemy fighters. So it was just next thing you know, we tried landing a bird, but at that time, that's when it was all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. The enemy was determined not to let me leave that day.
They liked you. Huh?
Yeah, for some reason they were trying to keep me out there. But it was nasty. It was pretty bad. So the bird wasn't able to land right there. Right away. So by the time that they called that helo, we had squad already from our forward operating base heading our direction to basically give us reinforcement. So they were coming, but it was just the amount of enemy that was coming on us was just insane. And I'm here laying in a freaking stretcher, just hearing just bullets whiz by.
Oh my God!
But I mean, like I said, all my guys, they did exactly what we trained for.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, we had that lieutenant with us that he was able to call. On top of calling for my evacuation. When that was impossible, he started calling for fire. That was his job. His job was to call for fire. So he immediately got, some damn Apaches, and just anything and everything that we could get there to try to get me out of there. I mean, this, calling for fire, calling our artillery, just everything. I mean, we let it rain on them. We let it rain. And that's how they were moving me every time that we, because they had us pinned down for a while. They had us pinned down before that, squad got to us. I mean, we were completely pinned down. We were, returning fire, but we were completely pinned down. They couldn't evacuate me. They were pinned down. They're coming on us. And so we had our lieutenant that was calling for fire. He was, every time that that we were able to get some effective fire, that was the only way that they could kind of move me back. So whenever we had artillery land, it kind of put the enemy's head down, and they were able to move me. So little by little, step by step. So that's what my evacuation took over. I think it was like 90 minutes.
Wow.
Something like that. So I wasn't supposed to make it out of there that day. We have what we call the golden hour. It's whenever we take a casualty, you got an hour to get them out of there to get them the best chances of survival.
Right.
You got an hour.
Right.
And any time after that hour, the chances of survival of that casualty they deplete like no other.
That makes sense.
And but it was all hell broke loose. Once that IED went off, all hell broke loose. They were on us. They had us pinned down, and but it was a matter of doing what we trained. They got me out of there. I mean, I'm the $1 million baby here. We had artillery. We had our internal mortars. They were dropping, hate and discontent. We had Apaches. We had HIMARS, which is basically missiles. Like GPS guided, stuff, good stuff that's expensive, but that was the only way of being able to get me out of there, because they were determined not to let me get out of there.
And you were conscious through most all this.
All of it.
Jeez.
I was all of it, and so they had and it was just this nasty freaking fields, just crop fields that we had to go through. So we were at that tree line, but then on our way back, we had to go through crop fields and so irrigation ditches and just nasty stuff. And a lot of that area was open area, so you can't move in open area unless you got fire suppressing them. So that's why they were suppressing the enemy with artillery, mortars, just indirect and direct fire, air support. A-10s, I love A-10s. Oh my gosh, it's a dream. When you hear that burr from an A-10, because we had 2 A-10s come on station, and every time the A-10 would do a run, same thing. My guys would pick me up and move me, and just hearing the buzz of those A-10s. Yeah.
That's a different sound. I remember being on a hunt on the north side of Fort Hood, and they were the same kind of guns. When I was first sitting there and I heard that, I was like, what the hell was that noise?
Very distinct.
It's very distinct, and then it's as time goes on, you hear it more and more. You kind of like, man, I like that.
Oh yeah.
But you're awake the whole damn time.
I didn't pass out till I was pretty much almost at the back gate of our fob. And we were, they were able to, get me all the way to the towards the back gate. And once I was near the back gate, they put me in the Afghani forces that we were working with out there. They rolled around in some Toyotas, some just small pickup trucks, right? So they had to put me. So finally, they got me out of that field, got me close enough to one of the roads that was behind our fob. Put me in a stretcher inside that pickup truck. That's when I lost consciousness. Apparently I was. I don't remember some of that stuff because that's when I was. Everything goes hazy from there. But I was flipping up some of my leadership as I was leaving. I'm like, well, there's some that I just didn't get along with, and like that's some of my guys are like, yeah, that was hilarious. You were telling so and so off, and I'm like, well, good, good. He deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can say it was the drugs that caused
it. Yeah, But it was over an hour. It was over an hour when they finally got me on the bird. It was like just shy of 90 minutes.
Okay, so once you're extracted, you got back to the fob and they got you extracted, and obviously they had you somewhere. Where'd they head you to?
So once they put me on the bird, we went to the main hospital that's out there. So the big surgical unit,
right?
That's where all of our most critically injured. So it's in country in Afghanistan. So they take me. That's where they take us all there, right? So they take me there. They get to working on me. By this time, I'm just out of it. By the time that I got on the helo, I don't remember anything after that. After that, my dudes, my guys are like, yeah, you were still pretty much awake. flipping people off and everything, but you were still awake. I'm like, I don't remember none of that. They're like, yeah, right, you don't remember. And I'm like, no, I don't remember. But so I don't have any recollections past the point where I'm in the stretcher. They put me on the. By the time they put me on the helo, I don't remember anything. When I woke up, it was 4 days later. I was in Bethesda, Maryland. Well, at that time, it hadn't been converted to just Walter Reed. Now it's just Walter Reed. Back then, it was. I think they were still divided. The Navy, had Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
Naval Medical Center, National Naval Medical Center, Bethesda, Maryland, and Walter Reed right next to each other, I think, or something like that. Now it's all just one thing. It's combined. That's where I woke up. 4 days later. So first, a day of getting me patched up, getting me ready to fly me out from Afghanistan to Germany, and I think it was 5 days later, right? Oh, I'm not supposed to be looking over there.
No, that's fine.
We're all natural. It's all good.
It was so once, well, yeah. So once they flew me, once they got me to the surgical unit in Afghanistan, they patch us up. They basically get you just well enough to fly you to Germany, and then the next day, that's when I believe so. I believe the next day, because I spent one day there, and the next day, that's when they flew me to Germany, and I was in Germany for 4 days. That's when you undergo more surgeries, another surgical unit that they take care of, whatever. Because I mean, when you're in country, they just do everything just to get you out of there. Just they save,
Right.
it's life saving.
Right.
Anything and everything that needs to be done.
It's basically just an ER.
life saving.
Yeah, save your life, get you stabilized, get you.
Exactly. So once I was stable enough, they flew me to Germany, and in Germany, when under more procedures, 4 days there, they stabilized me enough once again to fly me, do the whole transatlantic flight from Germany to Maryland, and so what are we now? 4 or 5 days later. 5 days later, I wake up, and that's when I wake up in the good old U.S. of A.
You wake up, and I mean, obviously, you've lost a lot of time. You're not certain where you're at. I mean, obviously, you know where you're at. I'm certain somebody told you. What about your family?
So by the time that that so I'm in Germany, right? So I'm in Germany, and the time that I'm out there, they've already notified your next of
Right.
kin. So Veronica got notified, and apparently she had some communication with the nurses that were taking care of me in Germany. So she was able to talk to them, and they were able to let her know what my condition was, and I was induced coma, so
Mhm.
I don't remember any of that. When I woke up in Bethesda, that's when I got to see Veronica again, and throughout that time, once they're getting me ready to be stable enough to fly to the States, the Marine Corps in the background, they're working with the families. We have units that are designated, or Marines that are designated
Right.
to deal with the families and to get the families. Me being a West Coast unit, West Coast Marine, and I'm going to be going to, because of my injuries, how the level of injury, I have to be flown to Bethesda That's when where the most critically injured go to.
Right.
The Marine Corps gets your family, your immediate family, your wife and kids, to the service member to be by your side. Once you get back and once you start recovery.
So what was that like to wake up and your wife's there and you've been through pure hell? You know, I mean, obviously we never know what goes on while we're in a coma, I guess. But what was that like for you? I mean, here your country is really trying to support you, and your wife is there. I mean, that had to be emotional for both of y'all.
Um, it- yeah, it that's when some more of the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster continued. Uh, I mean, I knew what happened to me.
Right.
Just by the time I woke up, I'm like, oh shoot, okay, so this is where we are now, and I was just, you know, I was just thankful to God that I was able to make it back. I mean, yeah, it sucks. You come back, you're injured. You come back with a, you know, life altering injury. But I was just, I was thankful to still be alive. I prayed, while I was in a stretcher and laying in the fields of Afghanistan. Looked up at the big guy and be like, hey, let me get back, home to the kiddos, and I'm like I'm like my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was 13, so as a dad, you, you don't want to leave any kids behind,
Right.
I mean, shoot,
Right.
in any situation, but for us, it's a bit more real, when you're in the profession that we're in,
Right.
So, but as as a, you think about things as a dad, and you're like, shoot, you want to be here for them, you want to raise your kids and guide them, and that's what was crossing my mind. That when I was laying in the fields of Afghanistan, I'm like, talking to the big guy, I'm like, hey, I got kids at home that that are depending on me. I'm like, please let it be your will that I get home and that I get to be there for my kids. And he did.
He answered your prayer.
He did, So I wake up and I'm like, sweet, I did. I'm like, I woke up and I thank God. I'm like, man, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna suck, but I'm like, I get to come home, and I no idea how it's gonna be, but I'm like, whatever it's gonna be, I get to be with my freaking kids and my wife, and I not to sound uncaring for the wife, but at that time, my main thing was my kids, and of course, the wife comes with that, duh, but it was, I don't know, just my thought was I wanted to be there for my kids. I didn't want to leave my kids. I mean, now there's always been that the term the gold star,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want to leave my kids, fatherless.
Right.
And that I don't know if it sounds crazy, but that was a big concern to me. It was just like I wanted to be there.
Well,
for
that's
them.
understandable. That is
And-
understandable.
And that's that was that conversation that I was having with the big man in that field, and he made it happen. I woke up, I was there. First face that I saw was my wife, and man, it was pretty great. It was just, I knew at that time that things were gonna be all right. Things, uh, I was like, everything else we could deal with. I will be able to deal with. She came to my side, and she's been by my side ever since then. I mean, I've been injured for 13 years. You know, the good and the bad, man, she stepped up to the plate. You know, it's.
Well, you've got an incredible family, and you know we've gotten to know Veronica, and for the folks that are listening to this, she is sitting here during all this, listening to this. So there's nothing TJ has to hide. So she's hearing it all. She won't be surprised when it airs. But you know, family is a big thing to you, and we've seen that, and we've also seen over the years some of our combat wounded. Families have suffered and divorces have happened. Guys don't get to see their kids like they should. Now, some of them. I'm not blaming the exes totally on that, but y'all have maintained a strong family, and I can't help but believe, just in your words, a lot of it has to do with your spiritual faith. And I hope that's what it is, but God intended for you to be here. There's no doubt about that. But like I said, I watch you and I watch your family. Nothing stands in y'all's way. And that is so awesome, because we've had you out a few times. You know, we were talking to Matt Wheeler on a previous session about the hunt at Texas Hunt Lodge when we first had you. And, we're not going to go into detail about what happened that night, but but you know, it's having you out on hunts has been an inspiration to a lot of people. For you, what does it do for you to go to places like Headwaters for Heroes? And you've gone to a lot of organizations, I know that. But what's it like to be able to go out and do this stuff?
Oh man, it's, you know, being able to spend time with my family is one of the things that has like stood out to me, you know, about from Headwaters for Heroes, is how the family has been included in many of the events. You know, my faith wasn't what it is, you know, before. You know, my faith has grown you know, tremendously, you know, after injury especially. But it's, you know, so having that conversation, you know, as I was laying in a stretcher, you know, just really changed things. You know, really changed things. You know, inside of me. You know, I was never really a hardcore, you know, churchgoer. I'm still not. You know, just I mean, I try to go to mass every Sunday. You know, I try to you know show my kids that you know, it's, you know, yeah, there were times, there are probably still times, there probably will still be times that I'll make excuses on, you know, like, well, maybe we could skip this Sunday.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I try to, and we talked about earlier, lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
So if they see me, you know, doing certain things, if they see me, you know, picking up the faith more, you know, I'm hoping that sticks with them. If they see me do it, you know, because I'm a, you know, one of the things that I'm a firm believer, and I've told this to a lot of my Marines and a lot of just, you know, a lot of people in general, is, and not just Marines, but I've told a lot of my Marines that as a man, you know, you're the leader of your family. You're the leader, you know, so, and you know, so we'll relate that to the military. We're trained to be the leaders, you know, whether it be in our fire team, our squad, our platoon, you know, company, whatever it is. You're the leader. So those men, they're looking at you. You know, there's no reason for that to stop once you get out of the military. Because once you get out of the military, then now you're still going to be the leader of, we'll call it that fire team. We'll call it that squad if you have, 13 kids. If you're a good old Catholic, right? Yeah, then, hey, the more the merrier. But it is our responsibility, to be the leaders in your immediate unit. So I got to lead by example. I got to show them that, that I'm doing this, that I'm putting forth the effort to grow in my faith, to learn more about my faith. So if they see me do it, there's better chance that they're going to be able to do it too.
Absolutely.
They're going to want to do it.
Absolutely.
So faith has grown, in me, and sometimes I feel guilty that it had to be after injury. So I'm like, damn. I'm like, shoot. I'm like, it took for me freaking getting blown up, losing 2 legs, to freaking finally turn to God. Yeah, but it wasn't like that. I mean, I was, my faith was always there. Ever since I could remember, we'd go to church on Sundays, just not as much as we do it now. Now we try to be more, pardon the pun, more religious about it. But
God carried you through that. He blessed you, and your family, didn't it grow after you got back?
Yes.
So everything was working.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Things happened.
Once again, things happen. I don't know how, but she got pregnant. Oh man. Yeah. 2015. So I got injured in 2010. And the doctors are like, hey, chances are you won't be able to conceive, just significant damage, just legs, butt. I only have one butt, or one butt cheek, I should say, but just the amount of damage that was done during the explosion, the doctors are like, chances are that you won't be able to conceive. And I'm like, all right, you're telling me this, but I know it's already working. So the conceiving part, hey, I got 3 kids. Mm-hmm. I got 3 kids that, that I'm able to see them grow. It is what it is. Skip forward some years, we do the move to Texas. We're here, and shoot, when was it?
What brought you to Texas?
We want to get the hell out of LA. Southern Cal. We just wanted to get the hell out of that place. So one of the other recovery units, big recovery units, is here in San Antonio.
Right.
Okay, but being in the Marine Corps, we rarely get to, send any Marines out here unless, for sure if it's burns, if it's if it has to do with anything, with their injury being burns, then yes, at that point, this is the National Burn Center for the military. Right. So we send all of our patients here. It is like the best place when it comes down to burns. With that being said, we have a small Marine Corps detachment of Marines in recovery here.
Right.
So during the war, we would send Marines out here, like I said, burns, for the most part. But not just that. If there's any other, extenuating circumstances, their service Marines can come here. Funny enough, one of my best friends, he got hit, back, in Iraq, 06. He got hit in 06. And he was burned pretty badly. He was in a light armor vehicle, they struck an IED, and he got trapped in there. He got, significant burns to his body, so he ended up coming out here, And in the Marine Corps, if the detachments and the units that we have of Marines in recovery, there's always a non-commissioned officer, NCOIC, non-commissioned officer in charge. The Marine Corps tries to put somebody as and typically they're, gunnies or above. They're in charge of those detachments, and it always works well if that NCOIC has been a patient in the past. So he's a recovered patient, basically. Mm-hmm. Well, he went through here in 2006. He was here for a very long time because his burns are were pretty bad, right, to a point where he had to get a lot of his care here. So he ended up coming out here. So when I got injured, he's like, hey, why don't you come and finish off your recovery out here? I'm like, I'm already established here. And, by that time I had made it all the way to Balboa, Naval Medical mm-hmm. Center, San Diego. So I spent 2 months in the East Coast at the hospital out there. Then after that, transferred to Balboa because I'm a West Coast Marine. That's where the unit was going to end up at. So I chose to go finish off my recovery out there. And even though the Veronica wanted me to come and finish off my recovery because of my injuries, were pretty bad, I had the choice of actually I would have been able to come to San Antonio right off the bat, even though that I didn't have any burns. I did have some burns, but they gave me the choice of coming out here, and I said no. I said no. I want to be where my guys are going to be coming to once they get back from deployment. So it was an emotional decision that I made.
Right.
But once the unit came back and everybody's off to the winds, so now I didn't have anything holding me back in San Diego. The Marines got back, we hung out, we did all the partying together, and then they punched out. Which the ones that were going to stay in the Marine Corps, they went and executed orders to pursue the rest of their Marine Corps career, and the ones that were going to get out, they got out, and so by this time we're over a year and some change in San Diego. So I'm still going through recovery at that time because my injuries, were, just a little bit worse than others, we'll say.
Right.
Yeah. And so when my buddy, when I, contacted me to come out here, I said no. And then after, talking a few more times, I'm like, well, you know what? Actually, no, hold on. I accepted when he said, just come check it out. Just come and check out, because he knew how bad my injuries were. And he said, just come and check it out. He's like, I think this place will be great for you. And we did. We came out here in December of 2011, December. We come out here. We visited, my buddy and his wife and his kids. And we had a good old time, during the Christmas season. I visited some family that I have in Houston. And we somewhat use that as our excuse, for the Marine Corps. Because the Marine Corps, man, they're freaking cheap asses. We get hand-me-downs from all the other services because we're freaking cheap. Well, not we, but they never give the Marine Corps, Congress always ends up shafting the Marine Corps. We're the bastard children. The Marine Corps does not like spending money when they don't have to.
Right.
So they didn't want to let me move to Texas because I was already established. I was a established patient at Balboa. So me transferring out here would have been them spending more money on me because they still active duty. So they had to pay for my move. They didn't want to. So I tapped into resources of knowing people in high places. Colonel was doing his rounds at the hospital one day, and I was a staff sergeant at that time. He's like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant T, how you doing?" I'm doing good, sir. How you doing? Small talked, and he's like, "Is there anything that that I could do for you? How's your care going?" I'm like, "Everything's going well, sir." But But I'm like, but as a matter of fact, there is. I'm like, I requested orders to go finish off my recovery in San Antonio. Because by that time I had already visited my buddy and all that, and I'm like, we talked it over with Veronica. I'm like, man, got the tour, of San Antonio, man, amazing. That place is the Center for the Intrepid.
Yep.
Man, I mean, state of the art stuff.
Yep.
Just prosthetics. Just the whole department. I'm like, shoot, and at that time, Veronica I'm pretty sure, I don't remember how it went, but I'm pretty sure it went like something like, I told you we should have came here from the get-go. And, I had to be like, yes, dear, I know you said so. You told me so. But anyhow.
That's what wives for. Always tell you, I told you so.
So, yeah, she got the opportunity of using one of those again. I told you so. But, yeah, the place out here, of the recovery unit for
That's almost like straight across from CFI.
Yes, it's great. So that day that I was talking to the colonel, he asked me what if he could do something for me. I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, you can. And I told him that my orders got rejected because I submitted for orders to come out here. Got rejected. He's like, reroute those orders again. And I'm like, sure, it already got denied. So how do I do that? He said, just let them know that they need to reroute them. Roger that. Aye, sir. And so sure enough, rerouted my orders. Resubmitted to come out here. And I mean, he's one of the best officers. He's a man's man. He's a Marine's Marine, and he made it happen. He told me, he's like, I'll make it happen for you. He did. Ended up out here. A year and a half after injury. I came out here, and I finished off my recovery out here. Doctors once again said, the chances are of conceiving probably a no-go. I'm like, whatever, because they periodically, when you're going through recovery, do checks of everything, send you to the same appointments almost like routinely. In 2014, as I was getting ready to retire, I want to say, getting ready to retire, and Veronica's like, I'm late, and I'm like, who was it? Damn it! No. So, but we had already heard stories of people being told the same thing. Chances are you're not going to be able to conceive. And oh man, it was the happiest freaking moment, that we've had for a very long time. It was the emotional roller coaster was still, all over the place after injury.
Right.
I mean, I was pretty strong, and coming out of my injury, but bad days still happened.
Yeah.
And after hearing good news, bad news, good news, bad news, and then just this great news that day, it was proved the doctors wrong,
Yeah.
And I was able to freaking welcome little David.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And but you've been plagued. It's not like you got. I mean, everybody, you're still dealing with injuries. I know you've had issues with infections. That's been an ongoing. I think you got it pretty well under control now. But I think you became more fragile because there was an event where you broke your wrist.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a recovery for me. In itself was just. I laugh and I tell people that I took the extended route of recovery. Mm-hmm. Most dudes they come back with an injury similar to mine, and you know, typically even the doctors tell you, when after injury, because you always ask me like, all right, you know, how long am I going to be here? How long are we going to be doing this for? This whole recovery shit, and they're like 2 years. That's the number that they kind of have in black and white almost, not really, but yeah, that somebody coming back with my type of injuries, in 2 years they're pretty much at the point where as good as it's gonna get. And yeah, you're right. With me and my recovery, yeah, I joke around. I say I took the extended route, but after going through numerous infections, just setback after setback with my injuries. Um, it's been ups and downs, just one after the other, and I mean I've been on so many antibiotics. Whenever you're at a point where you're depending on the type of infections, if it's pretty bad, they'll put a PICC line on you. I mean, I've had like 5 of those damn PICC lines, because reoccurring infections, bone infections. I want to say that I had an open wound in my coccyx. I was 9 years out from
9 years of
9 years out from injury.
Wow.
Before they were able to finally do a final surgery where they removed my tailbone. Because the tailbone was the last bone infection that I had, and they had to go in and surgically remove the tailbone, get this plastic surgery was involved. Just the damn orthopedic surgeon, general surgery. I had numerous 10-pound brains in the operating room, trying to get my situation under control. So yeah, I was 9 years out, and I still had open wounds, from the original, blast, and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't, they'll try one thing, try a different thing, put a PICC line, for this amount of time with these antibiotics. Then, a couple years later, another PICC line. I mean, that's how I found out that I'm allergic to some of the damn antibiotics.
Yeah.
Some antibiotics almost freaking killed me. My liver enzymes was shot through the roof. I'm getting migraines, like no other. And it was, so just one thing after another. And so instead of, the 2 years that they, kind of guesstimate that you're going to take for recovery for somebody with similar injuries, I mean, I was close to, I was 4 years. It wasn't, up until 4 years after injury when I finally got retired.
Wow.
And so where it should have been, what they say, 2 years. So double the amount of time just because it was one thing after another. I mean, my, TBI, traumatic brain injury, normally they say that after like a year, it should be good. By 2 years, there should be almost nothing going on with that brain injury unless it's, severe, where it's not ever going to get any better. So when I got blown up, my TBI, my traumatic brain injury, they deemed it being a minor TBI, or is that what they called it? Can't remember. There's 3 types. There's, I think it's minor, moderate, and severe. So they're like, oh yeah, minor TBI, just because there wasn't any significant amount of swelling. And I think that once there's that significant amount of swelling, then that's when they have to, cut your skull and give your brain room to grow. But since mine, didn't swell up, I guess all that bad, for some reason the doctor said you have a minor TBI. 2 years from injury, I'm still suffering from, just a crap load of freaking memory issues and headaches and light sensitivity, bunch of crap. That like I really couldn't get stuff done all that well. I could still somewhat communicate, pretty good, but there was times that we'd be having a conversation, and it still happens to me a little bit, but not like it used to be, where I know what I'm trying to tell you, but I can't find that word.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Rolodex is, flipping, but I'm like, I can't find the word, but I still know what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
It doesn't happen to me that much anymore. So then after the doctors, hearing that I was having all those issues, they're like, all right, let's go back and revisit your TBI. So we went back and we revisited my TBI, went through the whole freaking slew of freaking, tests again. And they're like, your TBI was not a minor TBI. And so I got another freaking CT scan, brain scan. And they're like, well, let's say you're going from freaking San Antonio to Houston. There's a break in the bridge, at one point. At one point, you're trying to cross that bridge, from getting point A to point B, and your memory's not, it never recovered. I'm like, huh. So that was like their best way of being able to make me understand why I was having so many issues, was that, somebody's traveling from point A to point B, and then there's just a break where it's not letting those signals go all the way across, which is actually the reason why I ended up getting out of the Marine Corps. I was going to stay in. After injury, and we had even talked with my buddy, the one that got me out here at San Antonio. We had talked about, kind of pushing that direction, for me to at one point take over, being an NCOIC of the unit there, or assisting in the duties of, managing that unit there of Marines in recovery. But and then after that, going off and becoming a gunsmith and armor in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do any of that because of, the Marine Corps, they would have approved for me to stay in. I had already talked to a lot of the higher ups. They're like, if you want to stay in, rock on, put the paperwork, it's going to go through. The Marine Corps will keep you. So that's one of the good things that the Marine Corps did for a lot of injured service members. They were able to retain. If that Marine wanted to stay in, they were able to retain them, find a different job. I mean, I know guys that are double amputees that are still in the Marine Corps right now, serving, just in different capacity, different jobs. I was gonna have that opportunity, but with my TBI being what it was, 2 years after injury, it's still not. It still wasn't getting any better. I had to hang it up, and it sucked. That was, besides getting blown up, probably one of the worst days. Is making the conscious decision to not screw somebody else over. Because if I would have stayed in, higher ups are in my command had already told me that they were gonna approve me re-enlisting and staying in the Marine Corps. I had been in the Marine Corps over 15 years already. So I had we'll say 5 to go.
Yeah.
For my full 20, and I was like this close to just saying yes, that's what I want to do. But I would go back to my reevaluation of my of my TBI, and knowing that I was still having issues, that would have been selfish of me staying in just because I wanted, just for my self gain of staying in for 20 years in the Marine Corps. And what I didn't want to do is burden somebody else with me potentially screwing something up and then to have somebody else coming behind me fixing my mistakes. It was a fear that I had at that point. I feared failure
Yeah.
in whatever I was going to be doing post injury in the Marine Corps, still serving an active duty. It was I couldn't do that to somebody else. That'd be jacked up, just because I want to stay in, and then my
Right.
TBI being at a point where I'm screwing things up and having somebody else clean up my mess. Yeah, so that was tough. I'm like, you know what? There comes a point where you just gotta, just count your blessings, and carry on. And I feel that I served honorably. Maybe didn't always make the right decisions. And I mean at this point, I just feel comfortable that the good decisions that I did, while I was active duty in the Marine Corps, go way above of my bad decisions. And I never did anything that that got anybody hurt. I never did anything that that would bring shame to to my service. So I think I could carry on.
Well, there's no doubt we're blessed to have you in Texas, and you have served as an inspiration. That was one of the reasons why we wanted you on the outdoor show, to show other veterans. I mean, you've been through a lot, and you've got a great support system, but it's more to, and that's the purpose of this having these sessions is to show others. You can persevere. You can move on. It's not easy, but you've showed that. You've showed that to everybody, and we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. Is there anything you want to say in parting words to your brothers in arms out there? Words of advice, words of wisdom.
I don't know about wisdom, but
words of debauchery.
Oh man. Just I'll reiterate on the part where, we lead by example. We lead by example, and I was taught that as a Marine, as a young private, PFC, Lance Corporal. My leaders, they led by example. And that was probably one of the strongest qualities that I saw in a lot of my leaders, and I like to think that I brought that home to my family, to my kids, and regardless of what happened to me, I didn't let that. I didn't let that define what was going to be the rest of my life, in a negative way. I changed it to a positive thing. And I go out there and I do things, so they could see me not give up. So my kids could see me that, whatever happened, it's in the past, but giving up is not an option. And whenever I come out here I mean, you see me laughing and enjoying myself, and that doesn't mean that there's no bad times, but the good times are greater. And if I could come out here and I could, continue living, and if by me doing this, I could show, my brothers and sisters out there that, going through something catastrophic is not the end of the line. And if I get them out of that, that dark space by, seeing that I'm not giving up, if I get them out of that dark space, I mean, man, I'm like, what else can I ask for? If I could show my kids that there's no giving up, what else can I ask for? You know, there's so, you know, quitting is not an option. We've always heard that, and neither. I mean, giving up should be out of the question.
Well, you've definitely shown that to the world, TJ, and I consider you a good friend. We've gotten to know each other over the years, and I thank the world of Veronica, and I thank the world of your family. And like I said, you are a true inspiration to a lot of people out there. You may not look at yourself that way because you're pretty humble, but a lot of people look at you and just are amazed at your perseverance and amazed at the way you take life on. And, you know, maybe that's why you've been a little slower healing, is you're so damn active. But that's a great quality, man, because you just keep going. And that's so impressive. But we're gonna end it here. TJ, thank you so much. This has been an inspiration. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, we want to thank our sponsor, Bell's Hollow Ranch, Mr. Greg Tatum. Go to our YouTube channel and you can see TJ's hunting episode out there where he harvested a really nice whitetail buck. Bell's Hollow Ranch has been a big supporter of Headwaters for Heroes. We do have some fundraisers coming up. We got to have money. If you're interested in what we're doing and you like what you see, go to our website, headwatersforheroes.com, or go to our Facebook page. That's where you'll find more. We seem to be more active there. Want to donate? There's a way to donate there. But check us out. But coming up on May 11th, 2024, we have our car show, our annual car show, where we're partnering with Zion Lutheran Church in Kerrville, Texas. That's going to be a big event, and that's where we're going to be drawing the winning ticket for the truck we're raffling off, a 1978 Chevy Silverado truck. This thing is incredible, donated by Mr. Jeff Barrett. Has been a great supporter of Headwaters for Heroes over the years. This is the second vehicle he's donated to us to raffle off. What's really cool about this truck, it's the headliner inside it is signed by country music artists Mo Bandy and Joe Stampley. That's pretty cool right there. If you're old school country, you're really going to want that thing. So that will be drawn on May 11th. Our sporting clay shoot this year, we will be on May 18th at Joshua Creek Ranch between Comfort and Bernie. Great place. We're looking for that to be an incredible event. TJ, you coming to shoot again this year?
Oh, yeah.
So
I will not miss it.
So we're looking forward to that one. May 25th is our annual banquet and auction. We'll have a headline speaker coming for that. We'll be announcing that very soon. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet because it's not confirmed, but you will be touched. So, you know, that's the auction is where we have a lot of hunts, a lot of guns. Anything can happen, as you well know, TJ. It's a great event. It's a caring event. It's an emotional event. Above all, it is fun. So those are some of the ways. If you got more questions about Headwaters for Heroes, give our office a call and talk to Miss Lynn Withers, 830-864-4096. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening in, and God bless.